First off, I want to let it to be known that I was always going to be making a video essay on TellTale games, but this whole TellTale games shutdown thing came very unexpected. So I kind of reworked my original essay to be, instead of about what they could do to improve, and as well as pointing out what they've done wrong, just completely going over what happened with them and what's next. This is actually a sad topic to cover, as it's never fun to watch a game dev company to go under, even though for a time they had some great games off. But in today's video, that's what I want to look at: the rise and fall of TellTale games. I'm going to be looking at this from the start of their first big hit, which was The Walking Dead Season 1. Now I guess you could count Back to the Future and multiple games beforehand that were big hits for them, but their first official, in my opinion, big hit was The Walking Dead. But before we get into this, I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of 2018, and I would extremely appreciate your guys' help by you just press the subscribe button down below. And if you want to keep up with my own content, then just add the notification button to it as well. But anyway, get into this. It wasn't that long ago that TellTale Games wasn't that much of a known name within gaming, but after the success of their first season of their Walking Dead game, things would be different. This game was much loved at the time by most of the YouTube community, as well as all the gamers within this community, and it even got to ride the hype of PewDiePie for a small bit of time. One of the biggest things that helped this game was how perfect it was for the Let's Play part of YouTube, and not long after this game would come out, the whole algorithm shift on YouTube would occur, giving Let's Plays such a bounce into reality, helping multiple games spur up massive conversation and explode, including The Walking Dead Season 1. And one of the biggest things that would help it is its decent story that would keep the viewer watching, meaning it would also be some great content for the YouTube themselves to make, as it gave some enjoyment for them because it's a good story game, and it also gave a reason for the actual viewer themselves to keep returning more and more. And if they wanted to experience the game by themselves without this Let's Player or YouTuber, they could easily go ahead, buy it, and just play through it for a couple hours. A lot of people do say that the YouTubers themselves, though, became a main problem with TellTale games due to the fact that you got to see it from your favorite YouTuber. What's the point buying for it yourself, since it's basically the same outcome? One of the things I want to make clear is that these people would have never brought the game in the first place. It's just a thing with gaming. Let's Play channels ultimately give more growth and more potential audience to said game, and the people who don't end up buying it because of that said video wouldn't have brought it anyway. One of the things that you would pick up on overplaying many of these games would be the fact that even though they say your choices affected the ending, no matter what video you would look at, no matter how you would play the game, no matter what choices you'd go for, the ending would always be the same. Even though the main story itself, or the nooks and crannies between the start and the end, could be different depending on your choices, it would always end the same. And they were named within the choose your own adventure game genre, but with always getting the same ending, it just didn't have that feel. If they were truly going ahead for the choose your own adventure game type, then it would have been good to look at the choose your own adventure books, which lead you to just two choices at the end of each chapter segment, which lead you to jump to other chapters. And within those books, there's always multiple endings. And what would be a good thing that TellTale Games could have done was go in this manner, making it so that your choices really did matter. Whilst the main core of the gameplay within TellTale Games themselves would typically differ depending on your choices, ending and the outcome of the game would typically resolve the same. And in my opinion, TellTale Games took the easier way out with making these type of games, while making an extensive, in-depth story for different pathways you could have gone by your choices, but in doing so, they never really focused on multiple endings. And what made it even worse is that you could make a choice to not have someone die. Like, you can choose to save someone, but if the game wanted that person to die, even if you save them the first time around, the game will find a way to kill this person in the end. It's just how a TellTale game went. One of the biggest downfalls was the fact that it would never update the engine. It's one of the biggest complaints that started appearing within the past couple of years as well. And in the past decade, they've been using the exact same engine with maybe little slight bug fixes that would only show up right at the end. But overall, there would never be nothing new to offer from their engine, and the cracks of this engine, the glitches, the bugs, the texture issues, everything about it would start to show. Telltale Games would only focus on the story of their game, which, again, it's good, but also bad, because they never looked back at their engine. They would just continue to reuse the same engine over and over again, hoping for the same results. Yeah, the game always looks semi-decent, but the game mechanics would never be improved because the engine would never be improved itself. The visuals would roughly be the same in between most games, aside from Minecraft Story Mode due to its blocky reasons, and the engine just wouldn't keep up with how the stories would continue to improve, but just never the engine. And as of more recent times, more and more people would point this out, and they would never change this. In the end, this would lead to so many people just buying less and less, with the numbers of each and every game continuously dropping lower and lower than the time beforehand, aside from a few of their mainstream series like Minecraft Story Mode Season 2 or The Walking Dead Season 2 and Season 3, the finale. And as time went on, with the same failing engine, it would continue to make the games just look worse and worse year after year in comparison to what other games are capable of doing. Their biggest flaw is the fact they would never come up with their own game idea, their own universe or story, and they're always building their story within pre-made worlds, pre-made universes that they would buy the license of just to make a game or two. Make season 1 or 2, 3 seasons of a said game. A good example is most of their biggest games. Minecraft Story Mode, that's the license from Mojang/Microsoft. Wolf Among Us, The Walking Dead, and so many more of their games. Batman, The Guardians of the Galaxy, and just so many different games of theirs would only be built within the universes of pre-existing licenses, pre-existing games, pre-existing universes within media. This would lead to something weird, because they're always after a new license, always after something to make new content, but what happens if they could never get these licenses? What would happen if these people would stop giving out the rights to their content to Telltale Games? What then? And in my honest opinion, they have the creative, intelligent minds enough to make their own stories, to make their own ideas, to make their own universes, and in my honest opinion, if they did that, that could have saved their company. Because one thing that I want to point out right now, because of the fact that their games, their stories would always be built in within a pre-existing universe, whilst they would be good stories and sometimes they won't be told in any other form of media, they're in pre-existing genres, pre-existing copies, pre-existing universes. And again, I wouldn't mind if they did this on occasion, because one of the biggest reasons why they blew up in the first place was because of their Walking Dead series, and then furthermore their Minecraft Story Mode series. But after that, they should have been looking into their own ideas, been making their own stories instead of just using other people's universes, other forms of rights to make their own stories. As I said earlier, what if all these big names just pulled out? Be all over, wouldn't it? The most interesting part about all this is how out of nowhere they just pulled out of the game development race. How quickly they fired over 90% of their staff. How quickly all of a sudden we went from getting hyped for all these new games they were planning to do this year. Wolf Among Us Season 2, the final season of The Walking Dead, some of their biggest game series. And then all of a sudden, in the very same year, they announced some pretty big news, some big games to add to their lineup. They fire 225 people, a mass majority of their employees. And then all of a sudden these old employees would start going after Telltale Games themselves for this out of nowhere firing, the no warnings that they would get for this firing. And then only a couple of weeks later, not even that, after finishing off this Netflix project about Minecraft on Netflix, they would close their doors for good, which is saddening, because they've done so much, but that's it. So what about all their projects that they started to release or let us know about this year? Well, aside from The Walking Dead As far as we know, they're all dead in the water, including Wolf Among Us 2. With the final season of The Walking Dead, the final 2 episodes, episodes 3 and 4, are being taken over by Skybound Games with the help of previous TellTale game employees. Well, it's always sad to see such a decent-sized game development company fall off a cliff, but most of this could have been avoided. It just makes us wonder what TellTale Games could have become if they didn't make so many mistakes, such big mistakes. The fact that they've done so much for the gaming industry. They practically saved the point-and-click genre of games and repopularized it again. And furthermore, they've been through so much. One of the biggest issues that have come up more recently is the fact that they were overworking their employees with no award or no added bonuses in comparison. They were basically burning out their own company from ideas, from stories, from game making, because a staff pool of under 300 people somehow making so many games each and every year. You gotta be wondering, how long do these games take to get made? And you could probably guess it'd be quite a while, because the stories in most TellTale games, the stories are quite expansive. So how hard are they working their employees? Well, we found out that pretty hard, overworking them to the point where they should have got some form of reward, should have gotten something for their extra work that completely and utterly exhausted them, but they didn't. And then, worse off, they just all of a sudden shut down, leaving no chance of recovery for the game company. So that's it. The tale of TellTale Games. All their flaws, their winnings, their mistakes, their recoveries, and so much more. TellTale Games, we will remember you. The saving grace of the failing point-and-click games, all the way to what some best story games had to offer, including many different series made by other companies like the Life is Strange. Goodbye, and good luck.